Hey Roger, hi. How are you? I hope all is well with you and your family as usual. It's been a long time since I made a video. Um, just had to wrap up family affairs from all the events that happened last year that I had mentioned in my videos. But anyway, haven't had a chance to really truly follow tennis. It's been like 3 months since I made a video. I don't know how long it's been, but I know right now you're probably getting ready to go into Madrid. If you aren't, if you haven't started playing already, you are entering into Madrid. So I remember this time last year we actually took Madrid, which was a good thing, and then you were number two. You went from number 3 in the world to number 2 in the world. So you're still doing really well. You still have great chances. How are the breaks working for you? So I think that's probably one of the things that we all want to probably know. See how that works for you. How is it working for you to take I think you took a 8-week break, maybe. I know you took a little bit of a break before the Australian Open. And for me, I thought you looked really good coming into the Open, the Australian Open, that is. Your first 2 matches. I like the kind of tennis I thought you were playing, the spirit you were playing with. I thought was good. And I also kind of liked your outfit. I like the sneakers. That was really fun. The pink shoelaces. Awesome, dude. Awesome. But anyway, I just wanted to say hello. Hope all is well. Spring is here in New York, New Jersey area. Still a little bit cold today, but still almost a perfect day despite the fact it could be just a slight bit warmer. And I think there are a couple of things I really want to talk to you about, and that is Rafa's return. And I'm just curious, and it probably doesn't make sense to really talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because it's really my own venting, not something like that. I wonder if all that time that Rafa was off, was he on a silent ban from the ATP or whatever the case? Because, I mean, there are a few things. Number one, I think there's a clause for Rafa to be able to have protected his ranking, which didn't happen. I think it's a clause that if you're out starting about at the 6-month period, I could be wrong on this, and anyone could double check me on this as far as the specifics are concerned. But if you're on an ATP, if you're out, on an injury, you can there's a clause where you can file for protecting your ranking while you're out. I feel he didn't do that, and then also he lost a lot of weight. I mean, he came back looking skinnier than usual, which for me was suspect. I feel like somebody who has so much trouble with their knees over all of this time would likely be more overweight than underweight, if anything, or even just maintain their weight, not be skinnier. So that's a little questionable to me. Then the whole thing with the stomach bug at the top of the year, and having that stomach bug, isn't a fun thing. You may remember, anybody who's watching the videos, I caught the flu, and I never get sick. I caught the flu around Christmas, and I was down for like 3 weeks straight. So I understand that, maybe Rafa had a stomach bug that might have been a legitimate reason, but all of a sudden it was kind of like, I think the Australian Open was like 3 weeks away or something like that at the time, and then he just decided not to go to the Australian Open. Of course, I don't know what's going on in his life, but again, some things are questionable. When you answer things in a certain way, and it's 1 minute on, the next minute off with certain things. It's just really puts fans in a position where we have to question certain issues. So, oh yeah, so by the way, yeah, if you haven't already noticed, I'm in a parking lot of a movie theater. I love it over here, though. The sunset's over the mountain over there. It's just gorgeous. So I'm just kind of chilling a little bit before I go have a social life after this. So anyway, then the other thing I think is that Rafa came back almost seemingly in top form. I didn't get to see him play much. I remember at Indian Wells, you know, he ended up taking Indian Wells, and for me, it's like, how do you end up beating somebody like Del Potro? You know, I don't understand that. After being off for so many months, you just come hit the ground running, and you're able to do that. And now he may be able to, but at the same time, Rafa also tends to be able to be, you know, as we saw with Rasol and as we've seen with Del Potro, even in 2009, the U.S. Open. I know that's a while ago now, but, you know, Rafa tends to get exploited and, you know, deconstructed by players who are taller than him, who can handle that high spin, that high ball, or whatever the technicalities are, they are. But I know that I've seen him just be deconstructed by those players. So for him to come back and just win Indian Wells like that was kind of crazy. Now, having said all of that, I'm glad Rafa's back. I'm glad Rafa's back, but I really honestly feel like, you know, everything, the way that he handled, the way that Rafa handled everything after Wimbledon of last year into, you know, pulling out of the Olympics, you know, not being 100% transparent about his ailments. He had a couple of doctors, I guess, make a little statement here and there, but it was to the point where, you know, a good amount of the tennis world still didn't get the proper amount of clarity, and we were put in this position where we're like, well, you know, some of this stuff was just straight suspect. And I'm sorry, but it's true. You know, I'd love for Rafa to be like, no, you're wrong. Here's A, B, C, D, and E. So, all right. And I'll be the first to admit, you know what, Rafa? I'm glad I'm wrong because I really like you. You know, but... So anyway, I guess that's really my rant about Rafa for now. I still wish him well overall, but I do say that I just don't feel, I don't necessarily feel as close to Rafa. Not to say that, you know, Roger Federer I've always been a #1 Federer fan, but, you know, I just don't feel as close to Rafa after last year. I don't feel that close to him. Like, as far as, I don't know, just having that overall fandom, you know. Of course, you know, I like Joker or whatever, and then whenever you're not in something, I'm happy for Joker, and happy with his little post on Facebook and stuff. Like, I think he was, like, barbecuing, like, last week or the week before or something, and, you know, he's just, he seems to be a lot of fun, and engaging his fans as well, and stuff. But anyway, so here I go. I was trying to make a short video and it's not happening. So getting back to Rafa really quickly, there's something that I wanted to talk to you about Roger for a while in my videos, and I haven't been able to necessarily really figure out a way to do that, do what I'm about to say without it sounding weird. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, and it's just gonna have to sound weird, but I think that as far as you and Rafa are concerned, that there's always been history there, that there's always been so much sensationalism. It's kind of been like Clash of the Titans, and I feel, and I think that many fans feel, that also sort of was such a blow to you, and it would have been a blow to anybody in your shoes any individual, any human being in your shoes built the, you know, any human being. So I feel that, and I probably have said this before, but I think a lot of people feel this too, because of the magnitude, again, of all of your accomplishments, and, you know, it's like a double-edged sword. So it's kind of like when, you know, this vast, massive, you know, magnitude of what you've been able to accomplish, and how you've lifted tennis to a new level. It's like, you know, Rafa came on the scene, and then he was the only one to be able to be kind of like the quote-unquote, you know, like an anti-Federer. Not better than Federer, but just kind of like the anti-Federer, you know? I don't feel that you've repaired from that, and I know that I probably have discussed this a number of times before. And I also feel like there's an emotional thing there, you know, just like with anyone who sort of goes through some sort of emotional trauma. And that's what it always seemed like, because every time, like, again, as I mentioned in my other videos, when you go onto the court at Wimbledon, when you went at 2008, and when you went onto the court and went, the Australian Open 2009, you were already in your own head. You were already tensed up. You know, it started to be something where going against Rafa was like some sort of pain or pain in the ass, I'll say. Not pain, but pain in the ass. And, you know, it was almost like you've been sort of stumped by him mentally. And I really want to explain this properly. But I feel like this trauma, this emotional trauma, and I can really speak about it, and not many people in this world can really speak about an experience of the same. Sorry, I'm just trying to get out of the dark. How does that work? Yeah. Not everybody is able to experience or talk about what it might have been like, or even know what it had been like, but they could perceive it. And I still feel like that's a hurdle that you just haven't gotten over with Rafa. I feel like to a certain extent your sort of clashes with Rafa, where he's been able to pull out the win and stuff, has just affected you so deeply. It's affected you, like, mentally. It's affected your belief system about whether or not you can do things. You're already not a lot of times, but frequently on big stage events, you know, you're already sort of in your own head, and your belief system's been offset by what happened with him. And it's not fully his fault, but it's just like that double-edged sword, because you did everything in such a high magnitude that people expected you to be this god, this undefeatable, you know, god who's always winning, and it just didn't happen. So anyway, I know you're probably like, get to the damn point, woman. Alright, so do you ever feel like, you know, and I'm still not getting to the point. Do you ever feel like you kind of can't stop thinking about Rafa? And I don't mean like, I don't mean that kind of like in a way where, how do I explain that? Or, I don't know. Do you ever feel like you're reliving on some level in one form or another, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, like you're reliving sort of the matches that you weren't able to pull out a win with Rafa, or the sensationalism around your rivalry with Rafa? I feel that you have. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm saying that happens to every single one of us, but just on a different level, where we have relationships with people, and I'm saying that it could be a competitive relationship, it could be a intimate relationship, a personal relationship, a work relationship, where, you know, you go home and this person is kind of on your mind. What the events of surrounding your interaction with that person is on your mind, and it doesn't ever feel really good. And you begin to operate from a place of that event, and you're operating on a mental level less than what you may have been before due to that event. The event changed your belief systems. Maybe it made you believe less. Maybe it made you believe in yourself not as much, or maybe you have so much of that event taking up a lot of room in your head that that was previously clear for you to just be able to believe in yourself. So anyway, I'm still kind of not getting the point, but in those cases, you know, on sort of like a spiritual level, I guess you could say, sometimes with that energetic sort of relationship, with that emotional trauma that you share with someone, that tension, that rivalry, when you're sharing an emotional event with someone, and you know, you may even wake up and have thought about them, or you go to do things and the thought of that event with them comes up or something like that. It typically means that you have sort of like, you've created like an energetic cord or connection with them. And that's my whole point. Spiritually, a lot of people, like, you know, and I don't mean to get all spiritual on you, but you'll see like a lot of spiritual people or whatever will talk about what's called energetic cords, and usually it usually ends up forming between you and another person. You can kind of see how it happens if you have a lot of tension with another person, where it's not to say that you have a negative relationship with Rafa. I don't believe that, or I don't believe it's the other way around either, but there's a lot of trauma around that relationship. And also too, it's another way where sometimes the dynamic between two people, you can have an energetic cord and someone could sort of be sucking your energy away. And I think that we all, even though as strange and as weird as it might sound, we all might be able to go, I had somebody like that in my life where I just couldn't, you know, get out of this rut with them, you know, like just get out of this situation energetically or mentally, you know. And I think some of the signs of someone having like an energetic cord connection, so you have a negative experience with them, you have a traumatic experience. Trauma doesn't have to mean you got beat up physically or you know, anything like that. It could just mean a lot of emotion around the situation and the person. And I just wanted to tell you as well, it might be really good for you, which I really believe, is to cut your energetic cords that you have with Rafa. Because when you do a lot of thinking about the person, you do, and I'm not saying that you sit around and think about him. It's going to sound really lewd, I'm really sorry, but I'm not saying you sit around and think of him like the way you think of Miraca. You know, I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that you've had a lot, you and this other person, the dynamic that you've had as human beings, there's a lot of mental thought and connection, and probably a lot of energetic cords, because you two have had to think about each other for a number of years, go against each other for a number of years, have emotion, you know. 2007 Wimbledon, he's crying. 2008 Wimbledon, you're upset, he's happy. 2009 Australian Open, you know what I mean? And it's bigger than the average person just having an issue with their coworker, an issue with their boyfriend. How many of you watching this video who managed to watch as far as I'm talking right now have had an issue with a coworker 10 years ago, and they still kind of have that one little thing that you could just either get mad about or feel like something was taken from you or whatever, you know? Sometimes that's still an energetic cord, you know? So I'm just saying, when you do a lot of thinking, I don't think it takes someone really spiritual to think, you know, to sort of understand the concept that when you know, everything in this world is energy and matter all around us, and energy never breaks down. It never is to be destroyed, just transferred. So you're thinking Rafael Nadal, you're thinking Rafael Nadal, and Rafael Nadal is thinking Roger Federer, and you guys are constantly just in the same sphere, and you know, everything surrounding this Rafael Nadal has been your life in a lot of ways, outside of, you know, your personal family and stuff like that. But really, a lot of this person has encompassed a lot of your life. So there are a lot of energetic sort of chords there. And so all I wanted to say is I'm gonna actually attach a video where by a young lady that I really like, who does very good work. She's a little more spiritual, but she's not airy-fairy to anything that'll scare you or anything like that. But she talks a little bit more about energetic chords. I think that might be the closest thing I'll be able to explain to you as far as energetic chords are concerned, but I think you should cut the ones you have between you and Rafa, and you will notice if you do it right, and if it's something you feel comfortable in and something that you believe, you know, you cut the chords with him. And it doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, what's this girl talking about? There's a rope tied from me to Rafa. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that when you have all of this thinking and stuff going on, and all these lines of energy, Rafael Nadal, I gotta beat him. Roger Federer, I gotta beat him. Blah, you know, all of this and all the questions, the constant questions, and the whole thought process and the fear and the trauma involved with all of this. You have all this Rafael Nadal lines of energy going out, and it starts shifting your belief system. So it'll be good if you can just cut those or have them dissolved. And I tell you, in most situations where you are emotionally invested like that, you don't realize it, but you cut those cords and you immediately kind of feel a difference, or a day later or 2 days later or something like that, you start noticing a difference, whether it means, oh, I don't feel as anxious as I normally do. Oh, I wonder what that is. Or, oh, I'm not as intense as I normally could be. Oh, I wonder what that is. So, you see what I do for you, Roger? I go all out and put all out in the world, talk about airy-fairy spiritual stuff. It's not airy-fairy, but I'm just saying. Cut the cords with Rafa. I'm gonna Joker everybody, you know. Although I don't really feel that anyone else is, you have that dynamic with anyone else, really. I feel that all of the trauma around Rafa and, you know, the rest of the world expecting everything from you again has fed into the way you have interacted with other players, and also fed into matches that everyone knows you should have taken, but weren't able to get over those mental hurdles. And I think that's a start by cutting those cords with Rafa. You can also, in certain cases too, the way that people think about you as well can also energetically pull energy from you, you know? So it's always good to cut cords. And it's not to say it's anything that people do on purpose and stuff, but it's all just the way that you go about it, the way that people mentally think about stuff, you know. If you have somebody who admires you and they want to be as good as you and better than you and like you and stuff like that, and that's the way they're thinking, and you have such a dynamic mental energetic exchange between each other, that could be like sort of pulling off some of your energy, you know. Now I may have totally lost you in this, but you know, I'm totally good with really expressing this, because I do believe in that, and I believe that anyone in this world could kind of say, oh, well, you know, what she's talking about is a little bit weird, but on some level, people have experienced people come in the room and suck the energy out of the freaking, the air out of the room, or someone who comes around you who drains you, or someone who comes around you and just gets you in this place that isn't really good. And I'm not saying that Rafa does that, but I'm just saying that it's you know, those are all different forms of the transference of energy. how people utilize energy and how people could even take energy. So anyway, it's just good to be aware of that. And I would say with you and Rafa as well, you should cut cords at least once a week with him, because if this is something that sounds comfortable for you, because once you do cut cords with someone, doesn't mean that still mentally you have to move out of that whole sort of form of thought process that you built yourself around, that you've built all of the infrastructure that you've built around it, the mental infrastructure. So you might still have connections and stuff, then you just need to just clear yourself off of that every week. So that's basically it. And again, you know, as we go into clay season, you know what I usually ask you, like, how do you want to approach that? You know, how do you want to approach really being an even better player in 2013 than you were in 2012? And you got a lot to be proud of for 2012. You got a lot to be proud of. So this year, you know, I think it's a good thing to look, where did anxiety get in the way of me at the Australian Open? Where did certain players get in the way with me at the Australian Open? And, you know, again, looks like you've been working hard. You know, well, you always work hard. Well, I saw you on Facebook practicing in Switzerland on clay court. And it looks like, you know, just in there doing your thing. So I'm really glad about that. But, you know, to take everything this season and stuff, you're going to have to really make the decision of where you're going to switch it up, you know, and if not, you're going to have to be okay with where that decision will take you. I also thought, if I really had the time in life, I wanted to break down some of your plays at the Australian Open, but unfortunately I just didn't have the time to do that. You know, and take a look at some things that I just personally think that you could switch up, omit, change, you know, things like that. So anyway, all right, good luck with everything. You know, how do you want to go to Madrid? You know what I mean? How do you want to get to, are you going to Rome again this year? I'm pretty sure you probably are. Then it's Roland Garros, I believe. Then Wimbledon. How do you want to approach all of this? And how do you want to get through and handle an Andy, Murray, a Djokovic, a Rafa, a Del Potro, a Tsonga, you know, those main guys. So, you know, what are you going to have to do in order to do that? You know, you're still in an amazing position to be, you're totally capable of beating these guys. But I think there's certain plays that you do, you know, by rote that you need to figure out, like, you probably have to let go of, because again, they're capitalizing on them. But we'll see. You know, I'm hoping to see you, hoping I have time to be able to see you guys play at Madrid, and maybe I'll be able to make a video talking about plays again, because I haven't seen anything in a long time. But anyway, take good care. Hope all is well. Keep up the good work and the good fight. Talk to you soon. Bye.